Look, man, when I go coffee, I brew on my desk. I brew on the cat's head. I brew wherever I can. Okay.
Good thing we're talking about coffee and not sex, because I didn't need to know that.
I'm not having sex on the dog's head. That is not fucking happening. Okay, you sicko. Good God. Hi, folks. Welcome to another edition of DRS Live for you patrons, all two of you. Hi.
Yeah. And it's probably, two of us and Dean. That's it.
Nobody loves us. Nobody loves us.
It's probably because you just didn't tell anybody, because that's how you roll.
That is not true. I told everybody. B says she's not here because she had to cook dinner or has friends coming over for dinner or something. Invited for dinner, people for dinner, and they showed up early. A likely excuse. I'm not sure I believe that.
Well, they should just tune into Dead Robots with everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. We're a fucking family-friendly fucking show. I mean, what the fuck?
We wouldn't say anything that would make a turkey leg go flying across the table.
Only intentionally. Oh God. So let's talk about the week. You go first.
No, I'm still editing. Edit. Busy. I'm about a week away from being done with this book.
Why does it take you so goddamn long to edit?
In this case, it's because the first draft was just really, really sucky.
It was just full of crap.
It was pretty rough. I will agree. So it's taken a little bit of smoothing out.
Have you ever thought about talking in pseudocode? In other words, brief descriptions of the chapters as opposed to going through the whole thing? I'm just curious.
Since I write by narration, that will do me no good. I'll still have to go back through.
Well, no, I was just wondering if it would make, well, never mind. You have your process that works for you.
I do, and it wouldn't really help me to go ahead and do it in short chunks. I do go ahead and kind of rough out where I think the story is going before I start writing, but it seems that when I narrate, I'm a bit verbose. So things need to be cut down, words trimmed out, and smoothed up. And, inconsistencies in what I've decided to do need to be smoothed out as I go through. When I write it, I'll give it one read of the chapter when I finish writing it. Then I'll give the book a read through to go ahead and try to fix as many of the issues as I can as far as smoothing out things, correcting things that Dragon has done, all of that. And I'm about to start the third read through, which will hopefully be a very quick one because it should be pretty smooth at this point. I think I've pretty well fixed everything that needs to be fixed. Now I'll be reading through and hitting the speed bumps of things that I missed and correcting them.
That sounds familiar.
I know from past experience that this last pass will not result in a lot of changes. A word here, a word there, maybe add a sentence, just minor stuff.
Right. Okay, well, that's not too bad. I'm glad you like the Mythbusters shirt, Dean. I reject your reality and substitute my own. Sounds pretty much like every person on the planet. So you think it'll be done editing next week, and then what?
Well, my target is to have it done by this next weekend. And then I will go ahead and outline the next book in this series and kick it off pretty much right away.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Oh my God, this week.
Audio.
Well, I got quite a few chapters of Oceania written and got ahead. Imagine that. Still have to finish off this piece of the arc that I've got. I'm almost done with this section of being on the water. Notice we still haven't made it to the island yet.
You're never going to make it to the island. You're just going to kill them all in the ocean.
70,000 words, and we have yet to get to the fucking island. Anyway,
you're never going to get to the island. You're going to get to the island, and you're going to see Rourke and Tattoo, and that's going to be it. It's going to be over.
And they're both going to be made of M2. Got it. So I got that done, and then I went back to I finished editing the Black, re-editing the Black. That was awesome. Sent that off to Red Adept, and then I just finished re-editing Arrival Thursday. Maybe it was yesterday morning. I think it was yesterday morning. I finished it, and I actually like that book. I like Arrival better than I like the Black, but I had a lot of shit to clean up. Oh my God. I can't believe we sent it out like that. Oh, Jesus. Well, I really can't say that. Basically, my style has changed, right? There's the Black was worse than Arrival. Arrival is no doubt worse than Outbreak, but they're the choppy sentences, so many choppy sentences. And they sound fine when you read them aloud. They do not look good on the page because the phrasing comes off when you read it. So I combined some sentences, reworded a couple of others, changed where some commas were, and added a couple of semicolons, and that fixed a lot of shit. But there was some, what I would consider very inelegant writing in that book, and probably true if I go back and look at all of my older stuff, or hell, even my newer stuff.
Wait, we're supposed to be elegant? When did that happen?
Well, Terry, I would love to get to the point where I'm more than just a hack. I would love to get to the point where occasionally I can do a turn of phrase or write a paragraph and people go, wow, that was really good. That was some good writing there. Of course, most readers don't think like that, but still, I would like to imagine that there will become a time where somebody's like, I really don't like Cooley's stories, but he's a really good writer. There you go.
People say, I don't really like Cooley's stories, but he's a really good writer, then they like literary fiction because they're reading shit that ain't any good, according to their own opinion, right there.
Well, there's a difference, right? There's some people who love my Garaga stuff, but don't like anything else I write. There's some people who will read only the Black and nothing else. There are people who are fans of the Derelict saga and will read that and any other sci-fi stuff I put together. But it's all a different... It's just the audience is very stratified because I haven't been writing consistently in one genre for a long fucking time. Although it seems like now I'm on a massive sci-fi kick, so we'll see where this goes. But that's mainly because I'm in the survival horror game, damn it. And Station 3 is getting really good reviews, so that makes me happy. Trade paperback should finally be coming out, I think, the end of this week. Beginning of next week, maybe tomorrow. And then after all that, I have been recording like a madman on Station 3. I have 4 more chapters to go. That is it. And then I'm done recording. Except for like the standard bullshit that goes in front, acknowledgments and all that crap. I haven't put that stuff together. But I will be finished with the recording of Station 3, hopefully by tomorrow morning. And then I will spend all of next week mixing when I'm not working on Outbreak, which I already started. So I got another 100,000 words to go edit on Outbreak before I send that off and put it in there in the file box folder for Fireside. And then I get to start on Evolution. That is not going to be fun. Evolution is the one I'm not looking forward to. Because it's a piece of shit. It's a piece of shit. It's a piece of shit.
Probably your best work.
No, it's not. It's a bridge novel. It was meant to do some things that actually I could have done better, I think, in Oceania. But it's a story I need to go back and rewrite. Hey, Matt, thanks for joining us. It's just bridge novels suck. They just suck. There's usually meandering around. There's not as much action. There's just a lot of things that have to take place. And for Evolution, considering it sits in a lab, the whole thing takes place in a lab. There's very, very few places to go. And really, that book is only 2 main characters. All the rest of them are tertiary and don't have any POVs. And I know some people found it.
All the rest of the characters are snacks, is what you're saying.
No. I just feel like there wasn't enough action in it. There wasn't enough creepiness to it. It was too sterile. And I wrote it at a very bad time in my life. So that may have something to do with it.
Don't fall into the trap of rewriting it.
I'm not going to rewrite it. I'm not going to rewrite it. I may write new portions, however, or I will cut and add new stuff because it's never been published. So I have nothing to worry about. The only people who have ever experienced it are those that listen to the podcast. So I have, as far as I'm concerned, I have carte blanche to do whatever the fuck I want with it. But I still want to make it a better book than it is. I didn't spend enough time on it, and I was very depressed when I was writing it. So all of that is different. I'm in a different headspace now. I think I could do a better job of it. We'll see. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm worried about nothing. We'll see when I get there. But I have a very bad feeling I have to do a lot of work on that for me to be happy with it.
We'll see how this plays out. You may read it and go, it's not as bad as I thought.
I hope that's the case, but I doubt it. Or maybe a couple of things I need to add in there just for Oceania, which is hilarious. So, that's the way it works. This whole re-release thing is a nightmare.
I'm glad I'm not going through that.
Well, I mean, I think it'll be good. I hope. But it is a nightmare of trying to do this, that, and the other. They're asking me for, hey, I need a character sheet of what all these people sound like and everything else. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's only 12 in the black. Oh, an Arrival, there's only 18. Oh, an Outbreak, there's only 35. It's just...
As opposed to my direction for Veronica, please no Russian voices.
Station 3 has a Russian voice, and it drives me fucking crazy trying to do it. I did a terrible Russian accent. Terrible. All my accents are awful, but this one's really bad. I may have to actually go back and re-record some parts with with Yuri in them, but we'll see. Well, thank you, Matt. I'm glad you liked it. Just so you know, folks, if you're going to outsource your audio for somebody, especially somebody like Fireside, they're going to require you to do some homework, and you need to do some homework and help out the narrator. But they're to the point where they even want audition paragraphs for each character. It's like, oh my God, it's going to take for fucking ever. So I have stuff to do tomorrow. I'm going with a friend to a show. So next week is going to be all of that shit, getting all that stuff ready, because they're going to start recording in June. So I want to get all the homework ready and done for the 3 books, get Outbreak edited, and put it in the script. I'm not going to have time for Red Adept to review it. It's just not going to happen. So I'll send it to them after we get the stuff recorded and before we do the re-release. That's what I'll do of the actual manuscripts. But that's kind of the timeline I'm on now, is I got to get all that done and then finish Oceania, which has at least 50,000 more words to go by the look of it.
No,
maybe 60.
It's never going to get to the island.
Oh my God. It's so bad. It's so bad. This one string of stuff that I'm doing right now, I think it's 12,000 words of the same fight. There's a lot of shit.
All with the ocean.
There's a lot of shit going on, man. There's a lot of shit going on. I caused so many problems for these people. They don't even know where to begin with. So I got to go. I'm really terrified to write this last few scenes, because this is where I'm either going to completely jump the shark. Pardon the pun. If you don't know what the pun is, you haven't been reading Oceania. But I think I have a way to do this without destroying the ship. Or maybe not. We'll see when I get there. But I have at least like 2 more chapters until I can close this off. If it's closed off at all. We'll see. Do you just scare the creature off, or do you go hunting to kill it? And if you kill it, how are you sure you killed it? These are all very, very good questions. And I'm not really sure our characters are going to have answers to that, which is what makes it more fun.
Oh, they'll have answers. They'll be the wrong
answers, but they'll have answers. I've really enjoyed writing Oceania, because it just has been such a different experience having an actual, not a bottle story. You know, people are out moving around doing stuff, and they're out in the world and can see things and presumably get to land.
But you mirage, they'll never make it.
Yeah, but they're not sitting around wearing suits. They're not trapped by oxygen problems unless they're going underwater, obviously, but it's a different feel to all of it. than, the stifling claustrophobia of Station 3. It's very, very different. So I've enjoyed it. It's been good to write, but now I'm like, I got to go write Signal Decay, and that's going to be another claustrophobic environment because I can't get away from bottle stories. What the fuck is wrong with me?
You has a visitor.
Oh, I do. Hey, Luna. I didn't realize she came in here until you said something.
The door goes. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to be the cat.
No, that's going to be the puppy. No, Shadow's crashed right now. he's just a tiny ball of fur sitting by the monitor. I don't think you want to poke the black with a stick. I'm just saying that may not end well for you or the stick, depending on what it's made out of. So that's what's going on with me.
You got a lot of shit going on, man.
Yeah, I wrote up a list of tasks I was trying to accomplish, and John B. Rowe came back and said, "You're not going to get that done today." I was like, "Yeah, I know. That's a list of goals, not a list of requirements."
You need to insert the word realistic in there somewhere.
Well, there were realistic goals. The problem is it just decided that's to eschew the other goals and get a rival edited. Instead, spend all time doing that instead of working on anything else. Shadow.exe has crashed. Will now restart. Oh, there's no restarting. This thing is dead. Actually, we don't want it to restart while the show is going on. That will lead to some madness and calamity. We already have enough of that just with Terry's cats.
Yeah, I'm glad you weren't watching during the pre-show. There was some chaos going on in the pre-show.
Terry's got one cat yelling at him inside the office and another screaming at him from the door to let her in. And then
he tried to eat my blinds.
One tries to eat his blinds. Then he throws one cat out, brings another cat in. I'm waiting. It's just like a mass migration going on in your office constantly. What is up with that?
Well, just be glad, Romeo's not in here looking for his lunch. I fed him early.
Oh, well, that's good.
He's decided that my meal times are not sufficient. So he'll eat what I give him, and then he'll go stand at the stairs and yell at Donna and try to get her to get him some more food.
Daddy gave me this tiny bit of kibble. I want more, and you'll give it to me because you're the nice lady, right?
That's what he says.
Food lady and food guy.
Sadly, I do sometimes, reinforcing that bad behavior. I need to go ahead. Part of me is he's been sick for a while and now he's better. And he's on this diet that's fairly restrictive about the amount that he eats. And I'm unsure that it's a sufficient amount. So until I take him back to the vet and get another weight on him, I'm not sure. So part of me doesn't want to be as hardcore as I could be.
Yeah, I can see that. Cats. Cats are a problem, dude. Cats are a big problem.
Cats is cats.
So what the hell are we going to talk about today?
And
patrons, feel free to add, suggestions because, it's Saturday and this is your show.
We obviously have much different editing processes once we're finished writing.
Oh boy, here we go. Okay. Yes, we do.
It's a good place to jump into. Our processes are different. Then again, the processes that I've tried over the years for editing have changed and modified themselves. There was a time where I would let Word or something else play my book using the computer voice so that I could hear it. And I know that you do something by recording it and you're editing while you're doing it. I stopped doing it that way because it was just a huge time sink.
Well, were you doing that even when you were narrating your books before?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't realize that. So you've always done that even with dictation, you were doing that.
Even with dictation. Well, I only did it for a couple of books early on and decided that it was not an effective use of my time and stopped doing it.
Is that one of the reasons why you do 2 passes with Red Adept now?
No, I do 2 passes with Red Adept because I'm paranoid about finding all the mistakes. And I'm willing to pay the extra money to make sure that the few that get through the first one get caught in the second one.
Okay, fair enough. I get that. That makes sense to me.
It's one of my own personal idiosyncrasies. I could definitely get away with just doing one, and the book would be just fine. And I know it would be. But
always a but.
Always a but.
Always
I'm
a but.
For money to fix a few extra things. To me, it's worth it.
I can understand that. I think that in the best of all worlds, I would do 2 passes too, but I think that's not going to happen for a while.
It is time consuming because it takes them a while to get through both passes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if Signal Decay, when I finish it, assuming I got to get bogged down by something else, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know if I'm going to indie publish it. I don't know if I'm going to try and sell it to somebody. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And I won't really spend any time or money editing it until I know what I'm going to do with it. I still think what I am going to do with it, though, while I'm working on Extinction, is if I finish it, I'm going to let it sit for a while. And that's because something very interesting happened. This process of re-releasing the Black has really put it very plainly to me that it's easier for me to see what's wrong when I have to remember exactly what the scene is and how things work. I haven't read Station 3 in months, right? So this process of reading it again has showed me stuff that I should have found before I sent it to Severed. And there's some stuff in there that I wish I could probably fix in the TPB and ebook in May for it's over with. But it's a little bit of a problem when you're dealing with a publisher. It can cause issues. But the thing is, I think getting more distance is really what I'm really going to try next time, because I think it will help make the story better. And letting it sit for a couple of weeks, not going to hurt me, because I just need to work on the next book.
Yeah.
So that's basically
you're not on the deadlines like I am.
No. Well, I mean, if I was writing for somebody else, yes, I'd be on a deadline, but I'm not. You are correct.
Even when I'm writing for myself, I'm not doing any other work. I'm on my own deadline. Exactly. I don't have the luxury of letting it sit.
Yes, Matt.
Isn't that what beta readers are for? And I used to use beta readers. They are not nearly as picky about fixing things as getting a proofread at Reddit.
Beta readers are, I think, much better utilized by looking for plot holes, by looking for ammunition counts, by looking for details that contradict one another. Those kinds of things. They're not as good.
That's actually above what a proofreader does. Just saying.
Yes, that is. I said beta reader.
Okay.
I said beta reader. That's what the beta readers are good for. A good beta reader is not going to worry so much about the words as much as what they're actually saying. In other words, what the story is doing, what the plot is doing, what the characters are doing. Kate Sherrod, after she read Station 3, the first beta, she came back and said, hey, you know what would really fix this one thing is if you did this, this, and this. And I went, holy shit, you're absolutely right. And I went and added that, and I made it a much better book for that very reason.
I used to use beta readers, but I was so hit and miss with getting responses back from them and integrating everything together that I just decided that it wasn't worth doing.
Your mileage may vary. In the best of all worlds, you cultivate a relationship with 3 or 4 people who are your good beta readers. They're people that know what to look for, are really trying to help you make a better book, and are very excited about what you do. And if you can find those people, then they will really help you out in trying to make sure that you haven't missed something massive in your story, something you've overlooked.
And if I had used something like Google Docs to have editing in one place rather than having to combine everything and do it myself, it would have been a lot simpler.
Yes, you are correct. Matt says, so we're there for the pedantic things. You can spell it any way you want, but get a name wrong.
Killed some guy twice. Oh my God.
You kill one character twice and you never fucking hear the end of it. Whereas Terry sits there, change ships' names, planets. Nobody says a fucking word.
Pretty sure they didn't notice.
I'm not really sure what that means that they didn't notice. I'm not really sure how to take that, actually.
I'm not either. So I tend to just ignore it. Just creep slowly away from the fixed error.
Anyway, yeah, stop it. Just go away. Just go away. That didn't happen. Yeah, I think that's what beta readers are really good at. That's one of the reasons why when I finish a book, before I send it to anybody else, I send it to my dad. Because I know he'll read it really fast. He'll ask questions and he'll tell me if something's stupid.
One of the things that beta readers are very good for is when they run across something that they don't think makes sense.
Yeah, or if it doesn't make sense to them. What the hell was that all about?
What I'm saying is they think it doesn't make sense. It may or it may not make sense. It may be because you're doing something intentionally, or it may just be clumsy phrasing on your part. Anything about that, it's much beta readers will help find those speed bumps.
Yeah, and that's what we want is the speed bumps found. But you're right. Sometimes it's they understood what you said, but it was so awkwardly phrased that it confused them, or you just dropped the ball on describing it or what you were trying to say. But they're really helpful for that. And that's stuff you could catch before you're recording. But you'll usually find it during your recording. But if you don't realize you've explained it in such a way that the average person can't understand it, that could be an issue. That could really be an issue, especially if you're trying to describe something technical. Gravity, physics, chemistry, whatever. Or even just how something mechanically works, you could really do a lot of damage to yourself if you're not careful. Another reason why less is more. Do not give us your take on astrophysics if you're not an astrophysicist. And even if you are an astrophysicist, I want to read your take on astrophysics in fiction.
I just wave my hands and that's it.
Yeah, tell me what I absolutely positively need to know and fuck the rest of it.
If it's important to how something works because it's not clear for the story, then you should probably mention it. If it's, just some random science fact, maybe not.
There's a part in Station 3 where one of the characters is talking to another character, and he always does this when he's nervous. He starts repeating bear facts about bears, which was really funny. I thought it was anyway. Did you know you can tell a bear's age by pulling out its tooth and looking at the cone shape? Doesn't that make the bear upset? The bear is usually dead, Zilf. Anyway, sorry. Paraphrasing myself. Those kinds of things are fun. Put little factoids in there like that. That was kind of fun because the readers can be like, "Oh fuck, is that really true?"
Off to the internet they go.
Yeah, off to the internet we go. We're going to find out if Cooley's lying his ass off or not. Nope, bears see in color. And bears, you can also tell their age by cutting out a tooth and looking at the rings like a tree. It's kind of scary. That notwithstanding.
From the beginning of when we started writing to where we currently are, I will wager that we have tried just about everything under the sun as far as editing techniques, things that we do ourselves.
Yes.
And in the end, we've settled on what works for us and makes us feel the best about the process. And it doesn't have to be the same. The right answer for one of us isn't necessarily the right answer for anybody else.
That goes with almost everything, but with anything creative, it really is. It's everybody wants an instruction manual. Here's how you do things. Here's how you do it right. Here's the wrong way to do it. But it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit because you have to find your own way. You can read how Stephen King does his stuff. You can read or listen to Terry or I talk about how we do things. That gives you ideas if your stuff isn't working. Of ideas to try.
For God's sake, if it's working, don't
fuck with it. I'll disagree with that on I'll give a caveat to that. The caveat to that is you should try something new that doesn't necessarily wreck everything else.
Why?
If you have because you might find a new way to do something you didn't know before.
It's okay listening to ideas of what people do, but
Yeah.
I'd be really hesitant about introducing something new to your process if your process is actually smoothly functioning.
I don't think anybody's process is smoothly functioning. It's just there's various degrees of chaos.
Well, my execution of my process is terrible, but my process is okay.
Oh God, we're part of Chuck's procrastination loop. Okay, we're glad to help you with your procrastination.
So every week, Paul says, "Okay, Chuck, you can put off writing until the next show," and that way he just helps. He enables your procrastination for another week.
Right, because that's me. I'm all about the procrastination. All about it. It's all over the place. I think adding a wrinkle every now and then to what you're doing and try and reach is just like writing. Okay, I can write the same shit over and over again, but every once in a while I need to try and reach. I need to try and reach for something a little more. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I'll reach for it.
I agree that that's important in your writing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure about your post-writing editing passes.
Editing, excuse me. When I talk about editing, when I talk about reaching for something in editing process, if you find yourself doing the same thing over and over and over again, there might be a way to speed it up. There might be a way to speed it up with find and replace. There might be a way to speed it up simply by using find to find that very thing there. There's stuff like that I've done now. Like, for instance, let me find this character, find me all the spellings of this character, make sure I haven't fucked them all up.
I go ahead and use macros to look for phrases that I overuse, things that I've recognized happen too much. And I go ahead and throw in the ly with either a space or a period and highlight that as well. So when I scroll down a chapter, I can look at it and go, are there any ly words that I want to cut here? Is there any of my overused phrases that I need to go ahead and tweak a little bit so that they don't happen every single paragraph?
I was reading Station 3 today and I realized they used the word gunk about 13,000 times, but I'm not really sure what else word to use.
I apparently love the word really and only. I apparently love those words.
Cut that shit out. Oh, God, they're horrible. Get rid of those words.
I'm not sure about only. Only is not exactly quite the same thing as really. Only doesn't modify things so much. Really, I tend to use singular things, and I keep using the word only to describe them. I'm like, God damn it, got to rewrite that.
Yeah, I found this thing where I kept saying his heart beat in his chest. It's like, well, of course it's in his chest. Where the fuck else would it be? Why did you write that?
He rose to his feet. No, he rose to his hands, obviously. Yeah, that's actually on my list too.
Yeah, we've got that. Oh God, J.R. Handley's here.
Who let that guy in?
No shit. Okay. What about if you're starting a process? Do you just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks?
Listen to other people's writing advice.
Not us.
Or even us, if you like. Start with what process sounds like it makes sense to you. And when you go through it, if it doesn't feel right, or it feels like you can do it more effectively, that's where you start changing things. And over the process of writing a dozen or a couple of dozen novels, I've refined what I do. So a lot of the things that I did in the beginning, I don't do anymore because my writing style has changed. You're going to find that as you proceed as a writer, the things you need to look for and fix change as well. So you're just going to have to take the best advice you can get to start with, and don't kill yourself. There's a saying that you have to learn to love the process. And it's true, because I used to be where I would like, oh, write the book. Oh, now I got to spend all this time editing the book. I don't want to edit the book. Boring, blah, blah, blah. You got to learn to love that part of the process too. You got to find some way to get some enjoyment out of it, or it's going to feel like work. And that sucks.
Yeah, making it feel like work sucks. The easiest. Okay, let me strike that my.
I use actually as well. It's on my list. Let me go to my. I'm gonna post.
Why
my
do you
list
have
here.
all these? What is the fuck is wrong with you and all these ly words? What is going on here?
Apparently, I love what is it?
Apparently,
Adverbs?
you really only love. Actually,
Apparently, I actually only love.
so those words are fine in dialogue, but fuck that should not be in prose. Period in the story.
I don't know about never. Oh,
Never,
no,
never, never, never. It's just like there are some
no.
writers who really need to go on an adverb search and destroy for their novels because almost every sentence has an adverb in it, or every paragraph has an adverb in it, or maybe two. It's just adverb abuse everywhere. Stop it. Quit it. It's awful.
Let the adverb abuse kick off, baby.
The adverb abuse kick our baby. Is that what you said?
Kick off, baby.
Oh, kick off, baby. You're kicking the baby with adjective abuse. Is that even against the law? Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Oh gosh.
Whoa, what the hell did you just do?
There we go. It wanted to break them up. I just went ahead and copied the short macro that I have that goes and looks for the words that I want to look at.
Huh. Verbing weirds language. Adverbing weirds language, not verbing. Grinned. Was going, yeah. Was and were are other two terrible fucking things.
One of the things that I found is that, and Paul is going to disagree with me on this to a degree, I'm pretty sure, is that I have a subscription to Grammarly that I use. And I don't take its advice on everything, but I look at what it says it thinks is wrong. And sometimes I decide that it's right and I fix it. And it points out when I've dropped a word. I tend to lose words when I'm doing this. There'll be a word missing and it'll complain about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to have a word in there.
One thing that's been interesting is I've been editing the black the black books is I've been doing it through Google Docs. Pages, Apple Pages, because I have the original manuscript that I actually sent off to Severed. So I'm editing from that rather than the Scrivener file. And of course, it's doing the same thing what you're talking about. It finds missing words and goes, hey, dummy, I don't think this is what you're trying to say. And then there are other words where it goes, I don't think this is the word you're trying to say. No, this is exactly the word I'm trying to say. Fuck off. Finding the tools that work for you, whatever they might be, try printing it out, lining it, if that works for you, reading it aloud.
I've done the whole printout and go through it with an actual red line. I've done that.
Yeah.
I've had it read to me by the machine. I've done not done like Paul, but yeah, there's all kinds of things that you can do to try and help yourself. And you're going to streamline your own process and end up in a place that you're happy with eventually. Don't fall for the trick, though, of thinking that you can just shuffle the parts around. Once you find a way of doing your editing, if you move something from one part of the editing process to another, to think you're saving yourself time, it's a lie. It takes the same amount of time.
It might be a lie. It's not always
I've
a lie.
discovered that. With me, I'm like, oh, I'll change it and so do this. I'll change it and so do this. Oh, no, it takes the same amount of time. I might as well just do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And don't overrun yourself. One of the hardest lessons for me to learn with the editing process and the writing process, for that matter, is you've got to give yourself chunks that you can do to where you don't burn yourself out. You've got to find a pace that you can do it day after day after day. If you're going to do this professionally, you've got to do it every day. This is not something where you can go, my muse, it's gone. I'm just going to not write for a week. No, you're going to write. You're going to do it. You've just got to not overdo it so you don't get burned out.
I'll find your muse, kidnap her, or make her work for me.
Wait a minute. Is this another OnlyFans reference?
How many can we have?
I don't know. JR is talking about putting adverbing on as an OnlyFans thing.
Ignore JR. Dean asked, so is it worth printing a manuscript out?
It was worthwhile. I did it for a number of books. I agree.
Used to do it. Don't do it anymore. I come from a time when, and this was long before Terry started writing, when you really didn't have a choice but to print it out. We had very, very, shall we say, rudimentary word processors back then. So always printed them out. I always printed out term papers. I always printed out essays. I always printed out whatever it was I was writing, and I'd redline it through there. What I quickly well, not quickly, but what I eventually realized is it's duplicate work. And for me, actually printing out the manuscript means then I have to go back through the manuscript, find all the red lines, and change it in the digital version. This becomes a serious pain in the ass where you can forget what the fuck it was you were doing. Yes. The little thingy for printed pages to stand them up.
Little thingy to hold up printed pages. And I've also got a larger one that sits up on a tripod that I used to use.
My God.
So it was like sitting right here, holding the entire page up for me.
Anyway, that was a lesson learned over time. And I would say, yeah, I got one of those somewhere. I think I bought mine in 1992.
All of these got a lot of use during the part where I was getting use out of that. And then I just decided that doing an extra pass was more effective time-wise for me than taking the time to print it out, go through and change and write and rewrite and do things, rather than it's all a matter of what you like. Sometimes you've got to do things differently than everybody else to love the process.
Again, it's just, you got to start. It's just like writing. I can tell you all the ways you should write, but really what it comes down to is write. You can't do anything unless you write. You can't improve. You can't write shit if you're not writing. You can't write good if you're not writing. Write. You got to write.
I can't write good now.
I can't write good now either. But that is what you have to do. Period. End of story. Matt says he had a professor who made you ask any question out loud to his teddy bear. The number of times asking it out loud led to an, oh yeah, never mind, was incredible. Okay, when I was a software developer, when I was software lead, I have my Linux Penguin. And the first thing that any of the developers did before they asked me a question is they had to go grab the Penguin from my desk and take the Penguin to their desk and talk to the Penguin. And it worked a whole lot. And then sometimes they bring the Penguin back and go, yeah, we're not communicating today, which is fine.
Talking to cats works too.
Yeah, talking to cats. But, you know, the problem is the cat and the dog, they don't really give me any help with plot points. They don't really have anything to add, especially when they're both napping. Oh, God. Way back in the day, I remember seeing a mouse in Windows for the first time and thinking that will never take off.
You know, I watched the first episode of Strange New Worlds, the new Star Trek show, the other day. And it's set back at the very beginning of before Kirk even came out. And they, of course, violated General Order Number 1, interfering with an alien species.
Oh, Prime Directive. Yeah.
And the Admiral said, the Federation Council is doubling down on it. They're calling it the Prime Directive now. And Captain Pike goes, oh, that'll never stick.
Oh, irony of ironies right there. This is kind of frightening. Had a 12-inch Amber monitor with Hercules graphics. Okay, I had I think it was 8-inch Amber monitor for my Apple IIc. I don't even know what kind of graphics that thing had. I think it had hamster graphics.
I've typed on that kind of thing as well. I've written a couple of novels on my phone.
Yeah.
At breaks and times during work where I had time to do that. I've written them with text editors that have no functionality whatsoever. I use Dragon Naturally Speaking now.
Right.
It's just, I don't know that using Dragon is any faster than doing it by hand, but it feels faster to me. It feels like I'm enjoying the process more. So I'm sticking with it. I wrote for a while with it. Then stopped doing it because I didn't think it was working. Then I was like, I'm not feeling as good just typing it all out. So back I went to it, and I've been back with it for a long time now. It's not for everybody. I've even tried going out and walking while I'm dictating into a recorder, but the quality's not good enough. So yet another thing that you attempt to see if it changes things and decide it doesn't.
Sounds like you just need a better headset or maybe a jawbone.
I don't think so. I have a pretty good headset. The problem is that when it's processing a sound file, it's not processing it the same way as when I'm sitting here at this really good microphone.
Interesting.
And I don't speak the same way. I'm not as focused when I'm sitting at a microphone.
That makes sense. That part makes complete and total sense.
When I'm sitting at a microphone and I want to go ahead and belt out a paragraph or two, then I stop and then I think and I look at what I'm writing and I pick up where I'm going and I just keep going. It's a way of reinforcing the storyline for me. And when you're walking and you don't have any way to see what you've already done, then it's hard for me anyway.
I had the same problem when I was dictating Station 3. Good God, when was that? Last year. At least 13 months? 12 months? Anyway, I had the same issue. I had problems. Yes, as far as my old eyes are concerned, yes, size does matter. I need large monitors.
He likes large monitors and he will not lie.
Because he's fucking blind. Now you completely ruined my train of thought. I had problems
narrating.
I had problems with that too, keeping the scene in my head. Well, of course, I was doing it while driving, which didn't exactly. So if I try it again, I don't think I would try it while driving. I think that was one of the major problems, but it did help me kind of ferret out some stuff. But I really dumped all of that. I didn't use any of it. I threw it pretty much all away, but it was good exercise.
One of the problems that I have as a keyboard typist is that I was never trained as a keyboard typist. And so I am slow. I type a little bit above 30 words a minute. It's not very fast. My dictation speed sitting in my office is between 60 and 70.
Which is what I type at.
Now, some people, if you type faster than I do, perhaps, typing will be better than dictation for you. Yeah, but it works for me.
The thing is the words have always come through my fingers. Always come through my fingers. It's, I'm sure I could try something else and make it work. And I'm sure I will. Again, I'll try something else. You got to remember, I was playing with dictation software back with OS 2. Okay, this would have been back in 92, 93. And I wrote an oral user interface for a web browser as a hobby deal to test the Java Speech API. Nerd, geek. So I'm well aware of dictation and how all that shit works. And I wanted it to work. I wanted it to be wonderful, but it just doesn't work for me as well. JR says, ask Paul what a jawbone is in reference to walking and dictating. A jawbone is a mic that picks up the vibrations coming through your there you go. It basically allows you to talk in any very, very loud situation very clearly, because what it's doing is it's picking up the vibrations of your voice. It's not actually picking up your voice. It's not trying to transmit your voice. It's transferring the vibrations of your voice into the mic. One problem we have with it is that because of that, it doesn't quite have the same sound to the person on the receiver or on the recorder, I imagine, as it would if you were talking directly into a regular mic. So your mileage may vary, but it is one of those things that has been suggested for doing, if you're walking around trying to do dictation or something like that, especially if it's in a loud area.
My speed when I was doing the walking around, because I had so many pauses to try to think of what I was doing, was maybe 80 or 90 words a minute, but it was a lot rougher. I definitely lost more time fixing it and cleaning it up than I gained by doing it. So It was an experiment that failed.
Yeah, he says One called Chuck says you might need to retrain the software if you switch mics. I guess that's possible.
This may be true. I know that when I get my new computer, which, I'm going to go ahead and what did I tell you I was going to call it? Skynet.
Skynet, Jesus.
Because it's
Christ.
so powerful.
You are just such a walking anachronism. Anyway, continue.
But when I get it and install Dragon on it, I'm going to train it up fresh because I've probably got 12.5 novels in this particular set. And, I've probably screwed it up in trying to figure out what I want. One of the things I've learned, if you're using Dragon, do not let it read your emails and other documents trying to figure out how you talk. That makes things worse. It gives you the option. Don't do it.
So
it's a bad idea.
Dragon's going to say, we're going to learn everything about Paul by processing all of his tweets.
Oh, fuck. Suddenly, every third word is an F-bomb.
Yeah, exactly. Every third word is fuck you.
Now, there's a book out that's done by, God, I remember one of the authors' name is Shoemaker, and the other one is the guy that does all the walking and narration that I now cannot remember his name. Kevin Anderson.
Oh, okay. Kevin J. Anderson.
Kevin J. Anderson teamed up with an author named Shoemaker, Michael Shoemaker, maybe. But they had a book out on his process, and that helped me, clarify some things about my own process. I can't go ahead and walk up mountains like Kevin J. Anderson does and narrate. I tried. I really did try.
Without some practice.
And the co-author does what Paul had tried to do and drives around to narrate. And I couldn't do that either. I tried that as well. And I gave that up at one road trip. I was like, nope, this isn't working.
Next time I have to go to Austin, I may try it again. We'll see. But I'll probably just listen to one of the many audiobooks I haven't listened to yet.
So my new PC is going to be a Windows PC. I know that's not everybody else's preferred thing, but I just can't stand Apple. I have no experience with it. I don't want to learn something new. I'm old.
My next computer is going to be a Linux. Guarantee you that. It's going to be probably non-Apple, but most likely non-Apple, and it will not be any fucking thing that comes with Windows. It'll be a System 76, which if you don't know what that is, go check it out. Because it's a made in America, god damn it, first of all. And the other thing is it's all open source firmware, and there's no vendor bullshit.
That's a great question.
Yeah, these days driving around and dictating gets pretty goddamn expensive if you don't have a reason to go anywhere. Imagine this, Terry. Dictating while riding a bike.
I cannot even begin to imagine.
I can't either. I'm too busy trying to keep my fat ass on the road to worry about that.
We're talking about this, but it just goes to show you that we have tried any number of different things, both as writing and editing, when we're going through it, trying to figure out what our optimum process is. Paul has settled on something that works for him and he's pretty happy with. So have I. But it took us a long time to get here. It took us a lot of failures to figure it out. And failures, you hear the word and you say, oh, failure is bad because it's got all the implications of you tried something that didn't work. Well, people that are really successful fail a lot on their way to that. That's what happens.
You're supposed to fail. You're supposed to fail. Every first draft is a failure, guys, because it's not perfect. If it was perfect, it would be a success and it wouldn't be a first draft. So all drafts are failures of a sort. And I got bad news for you. Your final product is also a failure because it's not perfect. But guess what? It's not supposed to be. You're supposed to fail. The only way you learn is by falling off. The only way you learn is by fucking up. You can't be perfect out of the gate because you won't know perfection until you actually start doing it. Again, it's all about doing it.
You can't learn perfection, or you can't
Not
learn
either.
from. You
You
can't
can
learn from
cultivate.
success. When you try to do something and it succeeds, that really teaches you nothing because you don't know why it succeeds.
Yeah, there's the problem. You don't know why.
You know, you laugh, but I'm being serious.
No, I'm not.
When you
It's
try
laughter
something
recognition.
and it works, then you're like, "Hey, that worked. That's great." And then you try it again the next time, and it utterly fails, and you're like, "Why? Why did that happen?"
Jesus, $11.50 per gallon. My God. My God. Holy shit. It's a good thing y'all don't have to really drive anywhere compared to us who have to, drive 50 miles just to commute.
Have to take an hour to drive to Paul's for lunch.
If you're lucky, it just takes an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was like $4.25 a gallon. Over here, I'm looking at £1.80 per liter. Yeah. Yeah. America doesn't know how good we have it. You got that shit right. JR asks, have you tried the Atticus software that is supposed to be a Vellum alternative?
I'm aware of it. I have heard of it, and I talked to the people that are putting it together at the 20 Books last year in November, and got a finger waggled in my face because I'm not trying it, but it doesn't quite have all the features that I want, and it's not as pretty yet. I suspect it's going to get there, but maybe it's gotten there and I just haven't noticed because I haven't used it. But I've already paid for Vellum, so it's really hard to come out. I bought a computer to run Vellum on. So it's really hard to come up with an excuse to spend money on Atticus and give them a try, though I intend to at some point.
Well, if they're open source, they're not open source. It's just it's another product.
It's a web-based product. Oh. So you're doing all the kinds of things that Vellum does, but you're doing it via a web-based product. So it doesn't matter what your operating system is.
No. And I'll tell you why I wouldn't do that. I don't want them to have my shit because your data is going to have to be on their stuff. No, thank you. No, thank you. I will stick with the desktop version. Thank you very much. I'm not going to cloudify that. That's not happening. Not happening.
You put your stuff in Dropbox or some other cloud service?
Yeah.
They could sell it, man.
They can.
They could be stealing your work right now, man.
They can. That's not what I'm worried about. The reason I don't want a web program out there is because there are other things that could go on. You're complicating the problem. You're not just using it for data storage. You're using it for data creation, and any bugs that it has will really fuck you. So that's just my humble opinion. Matt asks, how much do you think proper writing software helps over something like Word or even Notepad?
I do like some of the features that Word has, though I actually prefer some of the way that what is the program Scrivener does when I'm writing with a blind screen and it keeps the text centered. I wish that Dragon worked well with Scrivener, but it doesn't. It doesn't get with Word. It understands and it's more intuitive in changing and accepting the words that I'm saying. For whatever reason, when I do it in just a straight Notepad or in Scrivener, it is not nearly as clean an importation through narration. So I tried all of them and decided that Word is where I do it, but I use it like it's a text editor. I don't use anything as far as the features go when I'm writing.
I have used probably 9 word processors in my life. Probably more than that, actually.
You're a WordPerfect guy. Just admit it.
I started on WordPerfect, as a matter of fact. I started on WordPerfect at the console, okay? That's how fucking old I am. I remember when you could put codes in to do text, latex type stuff in WordPerfect. I'm fucking old. And I've been using word processors since I was 12. So, that said, I think I know a little bit of what I know. Why I know my experience, and let me tell you my experience. My experience is Word is a piece of shit. My experience is WordPerfect's a piece of shit. My experience is Google Docs is a piece of shit. My experience is anything that does not allow you to break things up into chapters and keep them as separate individual text files while providing you the whole view is shit. So Wavemaker and Scrivener are my bitches. Those are the ones that I use for writing, for laying out novels and everything else. Now, here's where things get tricky. Then you have to send it in a Word file or a PDF or whatever else. So now you have to shit out this thing that somebody can actually use for publishing, right? Even if it's just you. Then there's other issues that come up with that, because then you usually have to end up having to reformat it in Word or Google or whatever else before you send it off. So, I mean, there's no perfect workflow I have found. And it's mainly because things like Word or Google Docs get the fuck in my way. I need to be able to look at a chapter, be able to go back instantly just by hitting that chapter. And I can't do that in Word. It doesn't have the same, same deal.
One of the things that's different, though, is your process of writing is different than
correct. And this is, again, this is all my preferences. When I was at Java 1 in 99 and Douglas Adams yelled at us for 45 minutes at his keynote about how we suck at developing stuff that for writers, that word processors are garbage. And he was right. Because for fiction writers and for people who write even nonfiction books, for book writers especially, the software sucks back then. You just didn't have any ability to put notes. You didn't have an ability to break up the book into sections and chapters easily. There was just so much garbage that got in your way, or got in my way, which is why I was actually to the point where I was writing in text each chapter, and then I created a Python script, or excuse me, a Ruby script, that at the end of it, I could basically type in a command and it would put all those chapters together in an ebook. Because I'm a sick motherfucker. That's why.
Yeah, but the reason that I'm mentioning the writing process is you're not a linear writer. Not really. You just bounce back and forth where you want to inside the story. So having that capability is something that you need. Mm-hmm. Me, I start writing at word 1 and I finished with the end. Yeah. I really don't go back and change things. I don't take a scene and move it from one place to another. I write out the book pretty much the first time, square off, it's done. Then I go through and I clean it up, and that's me. So for me, I write in one Word document per chapter, numbered so poetically 1 through whatever.
Oh God.
And then when I'm done, I go ahead and use the Word feature to combine them into one document. It does require probably 10 minutes of cleanup to get things fixed up. Ugh. But I don't really have to worry about the fact that can't move anything around. So that functionality, while great for a lot of people, just doesn't ring my bell. But that's
again, it just depends on what you're doing and how you write. And I can't tell you what that is. You've got to find tools
that fit your own process. No matter how great a tool is, if you've got something that doesn't commingle well with your own process, then it's going to be a problem for you.
The tool is there to help you. It is not there to hinder you. If it's got too much stuff that gets in your way of writing, then it's not the right tool. Period. End of story. It's not the right tool. Notepad. If you're cool with that, that's perfect. It's about as low feature as you get.
Back in the day, I used to write in VI, and I actually liked using some of the regular expressions that I learned to do at work to make changes to it. I wish Word could let me do regular expressions.
Yeah, I wish half the word processors out there had that kind of nerd capability to them.
Nowadays, I wouldn't remember how to put a regular expression together, but I used to know.
I still remember /R. Grep and replace. How about we do set and awk?
I actually have a book stash somewhere on how to put together set and awk commands.
Doesn't every nerd have that O'Reilly book? Doesn't every fucking geek have that somewhere in their house?
If you ever worked on Linux, you've got it somewhere.
Unix, not just Linux, but yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's true. It was on the Linux machines at NASA as well. So you're right.
Podcast. So each chapter is its own Word doc. Why?
Because I'm paranoid about something crashing and corrupting my document. I haven't had it happen. I've had Word crash and I've lost maybe 100 words. but I don't want to have that happen to half a novel. I've heard of other people having problems where they've lost a novel, and I don't intend to be that guy.
You're going to get the corrupted file.
I don't want a corrupted file that's my entire novel. If I have to rewrite a chapter, so be it.
Matt, what the fuck?
You know, my coworker was all Emacs this, Emacs that. I was like, oh, come on. Just go with the command line, man. Just do it.
I used Emacs at the command line, and I used Vi at the command line.
See, the problem is that I was taught by a guy that used VI. I didn't learn Emacs, and so I stuck with the one that I knew.
Trust me, we're still having the flame wars, Chuck. We have them here every day. Every DRS podcast, we have the VI Emacs wars. The sad part is I prefer Vi for scripting. I prefer Emacs for actually writing.
I can see that. Emacs, especially when using the graphical interface, is much more like a word processor than VI.
What is this? No politics. Hates talking about them, but what happened to Vela from Amazon? Haven't heard that much.
I don't know that Paul has an opinion on Vela. He maybe hates Amazon, but he doesn't have an opinion on Vela. I stopped publishing in Vela because I ran out of time and it wasn't making any money. And as a professional writer, I've got to do things that make me money.
I wonder how many writers have fallen off.
I still get bonuses. They're not very big anymore, but I still get bonuses, and that tells me that it's doing terribly. Some people are making are making decent money at it, or they say that they're making decent money, whatever that means for them. And those are the people that are writing a lot and publishing a lot to it. But I don't think it's going to take off. I think it's going to crater. I really do.
I think maybe it already has. We'll see. I don't know. It's a program that I always was dubious that Americans would get into, and it still just looks too goddamn expensive for me. It's crazy. It's crazy expensive, really, if you start thinking about it.
You know, I like Matt, talking about this here. I want you to know that I started out on a VAX VMS system, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Incanting the shutdown command out loud to drive out the demons.
He said it's the Vaxis theory, and that goes with the VAX/VMS system that they're talking about. There's something to it. There's something to it. Let me just tell you.
One document to rule them all, one code to find them, one script to bring them all, and in the vellum bind them. That's actually pretty witty. Where did you steal it from, JR? Wow! Almost in stereo. Oh my God, that was awesome. Oh God, yes. That is not the script on the ring from LOTR. You changed it. That's what we're saying. The change was beautiful. We know where you ripped it off from. Sort of.
No, Tokyo State is not coming after us.
Coming after you.
They're coming after JR.
Wow, that was really good.
The bright eye of Sauron has turned upon JR.
Oh my God, this is terrifying. My alma mater was still using a VAX in their horrible homegrown HRS system, but they had improved it from the 80s. It was running in a VM in the 2000s. Can I run a mainframe? I want to run an AS400 in a VM. Can I do that?
There was still one section of NASA when I was a system administrator there that they still had one functional tape drive reader that would read the reels of tape.
Oh, shit. Okay, so something
reel
from
to
the
reel.
60s, 70s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, they had stopped using the punch card machine just before I started.
Sounds about right. Welcome to Legacy Hell. Welcome to legacy fucking hell. There were still machines at Schlumberger. We still had fax machines, and that was back in, good God, 2010.
They had one computer that they retired while I was there, that I don't remember which brand it was, but the company that made it went out of business, and they bought 2 scrap ones to have spare parts. And they lost all of the technical knowledge of how to do anything with it. And so people followed the processes that they had written down, not really understanding what they were doing. And when someone came along and broke it and erased something, they had to go and hire the person that worked on it a decade ago to come back as a contractor and pay him lots of money to fix it.
That's insane.
It was irreparable to the rest of us.
Irreparably damaged. JR, that's a different punch machine. Totally different punch machine. Clocking in is not the same thing as anything else. Am I still here? Or did I get lost? Nope, I'm still here. Terry's having issues, it would seem. Is he frozen for y'all too, or just me? I'm muted. Hey, come on. Hey, stop. Luna's very mad at the next door neighbors who are walking around. Oh, Terry's back. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My computer's not behaving well. I can't wait till I get my new one and it goes, whatever. Try to do whatever you're going to do. I don't care.
Yeah, whatever. Terry will never make that machine even pant. Yeah, legacy coders can make bank on occasion. I would say more than on occasion. Do you have any idea what Java architects are going for these days? I get pinged all the time. Hey, you know what you were doing 10 years ago? You want to fix our system that's been up for 20 years? It's falling apart. No.
It's not just even that. I got contacted a couple of months ago by the folks that I worked with at NASA. I've been gone for 7 years, and they've either laid off, or all the people that were working on the team, except for one, have retired, and they've lost almost all their institutional knowledge, and said, hey, you want to think about coming back to work here?
Oh boy. The hashtag Audiblegate stuff.
Yeah, Audible's hiding the amount of money you're doing and the returns, you're not getting all the money you should. Audiblegate, that's what that is.
Okay, I've forgotten that shitty situation is still going on.
I haven't been paying attention to it, I'll admit. I've been
basically
focusing on the written word.
Fuck Audible. Fireside Audio, who I contracted with for the Black. Yes, I can finally say the name now. They put their books up for 3 months as exclusive with Audible, and then they take them off after 3 months. So for the first quarter that it's out, so to speak, it's an exclusive, but after that they go wide. And there's a very goddamn good reason for that. I think you're going to get most of your sales during the Amazon exclusivity period, because that's usually when the book comes out as well. The book's out there, yada, yada, yada. But 3 months later, yeah, you could open it up to wide and probably get quite a few people, depending on the popularity of the title. It just makes more sense. Audible needs to be depth charged, like fucking completely.
Yeah, good luck with that.
There's a lot of, it sounds to me like there's going to be a lot of lawsuits coming very, very soon. So we'll see how that works out.
Amazon's got lots of lawyers.
They do.
How that plays out.
They do, but they've also got a very pissed off Congress.
I wouldn't trust Congress to be able to do anything, but we don't need to get into that.
That would be a completely different talk altogether.
Yeah, and it's got nothing to do with politics. They're just dysfunctional, no matter what their party is. I don't care.
Chuck says, you call Java legacy? Haha, COBOL and CI kicks his legacy to me. Yeah, whatever. I never had to learn.
When I took my first programming class, God, I know that I got out of it before I had to take assembly, but it wasn't COBOL that they were teaching, it was something else. Now I can't remember what it was.
Perl?
Hmm?
Perl?
I learned Perl, but it was long before Perl. When I took my first programming class, it was 88, 89, 90, something like that. So it was older than that. And I remember that one of my coworkers kept getting pinged to come work at jobs because he knew the programming language. He used to be a programmer in that language.
That sounds like COBOL to me.
It wasn't COBOL. It was something else. It was longer. And I've forgotten it. It wasn't Pascal either.
Something longer than COBOL?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
Anyway.
I'll have to look for old programming language and see if the name leaks out at me.
Be very afraid. Be extremely afraid. I know why I am.
Fortran.
Oh, Fortran. Oh, okay, yeah.
So, yeah, actually, I was the last year going through the college class that Fortran was a required learning program. And I actually liked Fortran. It was easy to understand.
Yeah, well, you are a simple person.
It's truth.
Well, you can turn on a computer.
They confuse me.
Jared Hanley says, I can turn on a computer and piss off the IT staff. That counts, right? No.
Yeah, luckily he does that in the same thing. Just turning on the computer pisses off the IT staff.
Oh, I think about the oddest one I had to use was Prolog. Oh, God. And the SQL Server introduced graphing logic, which looks very much like Progrog. Yeah, but SQL Server is a hunk of shit.
We really don't need to fall down the programming hole here. Some of us are recovering IT guys, and we'd like to go ahead and not be dragged back into this.
I'm recovered IT. I'm no longer in IT. I'm in robots and other stuff. I don't consider myself part of IT. I've always thought that was a stupid name. Programmers aren't IT. IT is network admins.
That's true. I actually worked IT, so that was the side that I did. But programmers definitely are not the same breed.
Totally different animal. Oh, you were a DBA. Oh, God, you poor bastard. Oh, I wouldn't wish that job on anybody. I've had to do it many, many times because lead developer, guess what you do? You set up source control. You set up the databases. You set up all the infrastructure. So, yeah, been there many times. Many goddamn times. Too many to count. Fucking hate it. Anyway, that is all that. What were we talking about now? Was there a writing question in here?
I think we fell down the programming wormhole here. So we were talking about, just writing in whatever we could find on whatever system we could find. And we fell into the VI Emacs war, basically. So
no, that would never happen. There was no war. There was no war. There was no war. I believe that there's a lot of tools out there. There's one with an X whose name I can't remember now that I used for writing one of the derelict books while I was on a cruise. Shit, I can't remember what the name of the program is now. I have to go look for it. Put it up there. Started with an X, but I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, that was a good tool that was free that worked on everything. iPad, well, for me, I don't know about Android. Well, it was on Windows too. But worked on all of iOS and Mac OS and everything synced up, and it was a really nice tool.
Scrivener was good for me when I had to leave the house because they were tearing out the floors, and I had to go to the library to write because I couldn't be in the house. And so I would go to the library and find a corner and use my iPad, a little prop up, and use a little wireless Bluetooth keyboard to type on. And Scrivener did just fine for transporting my files between one and the other. If I got more out of it and I was still using a keyboard, I'd probably use Scrivener, simply because the fact that I'm using Dragon now dictates that Word works better. But it's not really that I prefer Word. It's just the cleanest narration.
Right. Now, I've even tried WaveMaker and wrote all of Station 3 of WaveMaker, and I really like that. I'm using it for signal decay too. Probably use that for my main writing on non-black titles for the time being. I'm still using Scrivener for all the black stuff, but that's only because I really haven't started writing Extinction. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with Extinction, but Oceania, I'm still using Scrivener for that.
Computer side note, the mainframe that they couldn't touch anything on was an Alliant. So that just popped back into my head. I couldn't remember what it was before, and that came back to me. So there you go.
I've never even heard of such a thing.
It went out of business, and they had to. NASA bought 3 of them so that they could have spare parts.
Oh my god! Oh my god! It's so awful. Oh yeah, fuck that shit.
So does the software change the content of what you write? I don't think so. Not for me, because I play out when I'm writing. It's like I'm going through a scene like I'm watching it on television. I'm trying to write out what I see and what I hear and what the characters are feeling. Whether I'm saying it out loud or I'm typing it, it's the same. It's just the process of either saying the words or typing the words seems to use a little bit different part of your brain.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know that I don't know that that's actually true, but it feels like I'm more in touch with what I'm doing when I'm dictating than when I am when I'm typing.
Right, and vice versa for me.
It's definitely more in my voice when I'm dictating.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, I don't think
adverbs are my voice, man.
Oh, this is interesting. Why one software for one universe and a different software for another? That is a very excellent question. When I said I was using Scrivener for the black and using Wavemaker for everything else, that's what he's talking about. The reason why I'm doing that is because I already have 5 books in the black series in Scrivener. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense it didn't make a whole lot of sense to write Oceania in Wavemaker. It made more sense to me at that time to use Scrivener because I have a lot of notes to write. I like the comment and change log better in Scrivener than Wavemaker. It's easier to search in Scrivener because Wavemaker sucks at finding things. So for editing and finalizing, Wavemaker is a terrible product. Scrivener rocks. So I don't want to change that. Like I said, I may write Extinction in Wavemaker. We'll see. But with Oceania, I had to be able to do so much searching and finding and everything else, especially through the other books, to make sure I wasn't destroying continuity, that Wavemaker would have been an awful choice. Awful choice. If I'm writing a one-off like Station 3, Signal Decay, something along those lines, then I think Wavemaker is perfect. But if I'm writing a series right now, Wavemaker is a little crunchy for that.
One of the reasons I think that I did not make a jump over to Scrivener when I had the opportunity is because I'm on a PC and they didn't have the most modern version of it.
Which now they do.
They do now. So when I get the new computer, I may go ahead and switch over and do a book in that and see what it feels like, see how it works.
Yeah. So do you keep your notes in the software or do you use a notebook?
A notebook.
I do both. It depends. If I'm out and about, chances are I'll be typing notes into my phone if I think about them. There are times where I have to go scribble, or I grab a book and I have to, or grab my notebook and I have to like kind of work something out. It's easier to work it out on a piece of paper where you can just basically erase, write, and draw diagrams and whatever else. That's just a lot easier. But those notes usually, if they're important, get transcribed and put as comments into the actual software, because the story there is static. If you really think about it, it's just more or less a static document, even though you're mangling and everything else. But I like having everything in the same place.
One of the reasons that I think writing it out on paper is better for me is, unlike when I'm typing it into a program to go ahead and keep track of like scene A, this is what happens.
Right.
If I'm writing it out on paper, I'm sparking something in my brain, and sometimes ideas of other things to do will come to me when I'm doing it with a pen and paper that don't come to me when I'm doing it, just typing it in.
Yeah, basically what it comes down to is I don't think there's only one way to, again, there's no one way to do something. We're both analog and digital. I imagine some of the kids coming up are going to be all digital all the time.
Yeah.
I can barely read my handwriting. I can't even imagine what theirs looks like.
Imagine those people typing on IBM keypad keepers.
Oh God. Anyway, yeah. I'm somewhat worried about Wavemaker ensuring my files don't get eaten. Well, yeah, that's a big issue, but at the same time, you could make the same argument about Word. The big thing is you have to be careful and you have to learn how to manage. You can turn on auto sync with your Google Drive. You can do that. So basically it's saving it your hard drive and the Google Drive at the same time. The problem is if you do something crazy in Chrome, like clear your cache, you're probably going to wipe out your documents and you'll have to download them again, sync them again.
As a paranoid guy, I go ahead and my writing files are in Dropbox. That's where the actual files are.
Yep,
so
I do the same.
Even once I write when I'm offline. So it has to be actually connected to the internet to do the backup, but it gets backed up back to that. I also use Backblaze, which keeps my files synced. I have several thumb drives that I, on a monthly basis, create a zip file of the entire writing directory with all the stuff that I've ever done in it. So I do a number of different ways of making sure that I don't lose anything.
Having it in the cloud on Dropbox is pretty good. It's been pretty good so far. I've been pretty pleased with it. I don't really like Dropbox for a lot of reasons. I don't like having that stuff on the cloud, but at the same time, it's really the only safe way to back it up at this point is to use something cloudy.
If something destroys your house, you have a house fire, it's all gone.
Yeah. So basically you can be paranoid and do the backups, keep them in a safety deposit box, rotate them out and go through all that rigmarole. Or you can do that and go ahead and use Cloudy for anything else. Or, you can just ham write everything and hope it never burns.
I have one of my rotating thumb drives out in the glove box of my truck.
I'm sure it loves the hot weather.
It hasn't failed yet, so it's only the really, really, really backup.
Matt says if I handwrite something and a red squiggly line doesn't appear underneath, it was spelt right.
Truth, that's totally right. I tried using backup software and tapes, way back in the day.
I still have one of those.
They didn't work right. I couldn't make it work right and restore right. So it ended up being tossed by the wayside.
I still have a couple of 20 megabyte tapes lying around here somewhere with all my college.
I even had a zip drive for a while.
I have had a zip drive. I had a jazz drive. I have had, I can't even remember the name of the other one we had. Well, back when I was in the 90s, when I was doing all the multimedia. I've gone through so many storage arrays. It's ridiculous. Just ridiculous. But
yeah. Chuck says he's not paranoid about theft so much as losing it, and that's the right way to be.
Yes.
Nobody's going to steal your stuff.
No, they're not. I just don't like the idea of putting something up there when I know people are going to be searching it, when their software has to search it, has to look at stuff and everything else. I don't like it. So that's why the idea of a cloud vellum scares the hell out of me. Schrodinger's backup. It works or it doesn't until you restore if you don't know.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very true. Very
That's
true.
That's why I intentionally went ahead and tried to restore up front and couldn't make it work. So that was not very nice.
Yeah, it's always a bad thing. Always try to restore. If it doesn't work, then you're screwed. You need to move to something else.
I know that at NASA, while I was there, they discovered that their backup processor wasn't working the hard way.
Yeah, that's bad news. That's never a place you want to be. Ever. Ever, ever, ever.
I'm glad I didn't get blamed for that. I was already out of that particular department when that happened.
Oh, not good.
They found a lot of things out the hard way. They found out that creating a symbolic link to dev null and sticking it in temp was a very bad idea.
Oh God, why would you do that?
I'm not sure why the guy did, but he did whatever he was doing and then logged off, which caused I probably have said it wrong. It's been long enough, but he went ahead and basically wiped the NASA system and went on vacation because he didn't even know what had happened. That was the last thing he did. And off he went. And oh my God, the headhunting was going on. They were looking for people to hang up. It took them 3 days to get Mission Control back online doing stuff.
Things you don't want to know about how dysfunctional your government institutions are.
He did come home to a job because he had skills, but I know he got his butt chewed, and they changed it so that you could no longer do that.
Yeah, the fact that he was allowed to do that in the first place is what really scares me.
The system allowed him to do it. They went ahead and changed it so that I think what did he create? What did he do? He created a link to the root directory inside something. And when he logged off, it just wiped it and just went through the system, just wiping everything. So it wasn't to death and all, but it's been long enough to where I don't remember exactly what he did.
Regardless, he did something incredibly stupid with the symlink and borked the system, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. When you log off on those systems, it wipes out the contents of certain directories. And I think it was he created a link inside temp pointing at the root directory, and I think that's what happened. And he was logged in with privileged authority. He was doing it as root, so
oh God.
So poof, all gone.
Like Chuck says, the system works so much faster after an RM dash minus R minus F.
You don't even have to do it minus, just dash RF. Just kick it off.
Kick it off. Let it go. Let it rock.
Ah, boy, we've fallen down the IT hole again.
I know. That's what happens when there's a bunch of nerds in the goddamn chat. I've never watched Curb Your Enthusiasm. Interesting. I did do something interesting. I did do something recently. I watched Blade Runner, the final cut on Netflix. And
was
then
that the most recent movie, or
no, it's the very final edition of Blade Runner that will ever be made. He's made like 8 cuts, right? So this is the final
God, I had
cut.
no idea.
Oh, he's been working on this fucking film for like 40 years now. Well, that would make sense because it came out in 82. Anyway, then I watched Blade Runner 2049. And that was actually a damned good double feature. I think everybody should try it that way. Just saying. Oh my God. One of our corporate DVAs left a licensing server in single user mode so nobody with our software could log in who wasn't already in. Oh God, stupid.
When I was working as the low-level administrator, we worked up a script so you could reboot entire rooms full of machines. But you've got to pay attention when that text is saying, which room do you really want to do it? And yes, do you really want to do it?
You really want to do this?
Really want to do it?
Yep.
So yeah, don't start rebooting every machine in the main control room and watch on the monitor as every computer just goes down. Yeah, that's a bad feeling. Bad feeling right there.
For the small company I write software for, the owner asked me, he's like, all right, so occasionally I come in here and I'm a little drunk and trying to do something. Could you make sure the dialogue boxes are very, very explicit about what's going to happen? Yeah. So I flipped the okay and cancel buttons. Pissed him off. That was only on the confirm, but still. Oh my God. Guys, save. Yeah, there you go. The Fifth Element is a classic. That is a fantastic movie. It's a great film. Great film. Just a lot of fun.
Paul, did you ever realize that the villain and the hero never actually met in that movie?
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
They came really close when they were going in and out of the elevator, but they never actually laid eyes on one another or even really knew that the other one was really part of the problem going on.
Well, what's his name? The bad guy, he knew about
Well, he knew that they were having a little problem with him, but they didn't really realize, what was going on.
Just how bad of a problem.
Just how bad a problem it was.
Of course.
But they never met. I saw that on the internet and I was like, oh, that's true. They never did meet.
One of my favorite flicks is Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. And it was the first time they were on screen together. And they really only meet for about a 7-minute conversation at a coffee shop. And they ad-libbed all the dialogue because Michael Mann, I think it was Michael Mann, whoever did that movie, couldn't decide how to do the scene. So Pacino and De Niro ad-libbed it, and it turned out beautifully. It's one of my favorite movies for that whole reason. But that when you're talking about the hero and the villain meeting together, of course, in that movie there are no heroes or villains; they're all heroes and villains. That worked out really well because they never really came to loggerheads until the very end of the movie. I love that movie. Love that movie. Fifth Element had some incredible props. That gun, oh my God, I want one.
You're talking acting inside the Fifth Element. It's remembering that. Remember his negotiation scene?
Yep, that was one of the greatest scenes in cinema. Anyone else want to negotiate? Wow, he's really good at negotiating.
Where did he learn to negotiate? And the president's looking at the general. I don't know.
I wonder.
And the general's like,
yeah, pretty much. Great film. Lots of crazy ideas. Just a great film. It's too bad they never were able to do anything like that again.
I'm not sure where you really could go from something. I mean, how can you top something like that?
No, I don't mean that movie. I mean like a sequel to it. I'm just saying doing something else crazy like that would have been kind of cool. But I'm sure that's one of those once in a lifetime scripts because it was just nuts, totally nuts. All right, what other writing questions you got?
Ruby Rod in that, the Bruce Willis went ahead and told the actor, he said, after seeing him do that, he said, you're never going to act in this town again, right?
And yet, oh boy, did he.
He was yanking his chain is what he was doing.
Oh, the screen chemistry was so good. It was so good. Corson? I love that.
Say something, my man.
It's got no oomph. It's got no snap. Love that scene. If you ever get a chance to watch Dog Soldiers, do so. Most of that was ad-libbed and wasn't meant to be. Even better with the commentary, it was the entire cast talking over it drunk. I'm sorry. What did I miss, JR?
Sorry, JR. We've got you muted on there, so we can't actually see anything you write.
It's actually
a liar. We wouldn't have seen his comment, but you know how it is.
Ask the question again, please. I'm sorry. It's way back in the chat somewhere, I guess. I can't find it easily. I really need a search feature here. Really need a search feature because I can't see shit. I don't know where the hell you put this.
No, he'll either repeat it or, maybe it's, like being screened out because he's like saying bad words or something.
I have no idea. There's no telling. Anyway, he'll either ask his question again or we'll just ignore him like always and usual. Maybe he was just trolling me like he's never done that before.
Let's see. Do I see anything from him?
I can see it. I can see what you said. I just don't see what you asked because it's way back there apparently. So ask it again. Rather than trying to make a comment about, hey, can you see this? No, it's way the fuck back there somewhere.
Other than the audible gate thing, I don't see any question any kind recently, JR. Can anyone see my QA? No, if you put anything in just now, we can't see it.
What did he
So whatever he was asking was somehow being screened out.
Interesting. Maybe YouTube doesn't like him.
I think YouTube hates him.
Yeah, I think there might be a reason for that. Since Terry had me block him.
He threw it up on Discord.
How the fuck am I supposed to know to go to Discord?
Well, I think he threw it up now.
What do you think of indie authors putting their ebooks for sale on traditional pub websites? For example, the Bain, Tor, or other websites?
Well, I'm not sure how you could get on there unless they actually send you a contract. So unless they want to publish you, in which case you're not an indie. You know, if you're talking about somebody doing hybrid work where they are an indie author and they also publish some stuff through Bain or whatever else, Richard Fox is doing that. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Just know what you're getting into when you're doing something with somebody else under a contract.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for putting out a book with a large audience like Bain that's targeted for something. If you're doing that, then you're not going to get everything you would get as an indie, but you're going to get a lot of eyes.
It says Bain lets indie authors host your ebooks on their website for a percentage cut.
That must be new. I'm totally unaware of that.
I did not know. I did not know. Did not know that at all. Matt asks, odd question, Paul. Mira, where did you get the name from? There was a star Mira that disappeared and reappeared, where the term Mira variable stars come from. Wow, I did not know that. That is obviously not where I got the name.
What he really meant to say was that's exactly where he got the name from.
Now, I can't believe I'm gonna let this detail slip. I was playing Rainbow Six Siege at the time, and they had just released a character named Mira, and I liked the name. That's why I used it.
So, Paul, you know, sticking with names, how do you name characters?
That kind of depends. Usually I hear a name that I like, or I'm going through the graveyard killing my patrons. But like Zilfakir in Station 3, I was at my nephew's graduation, and one of the last people to walk across the stage, I can't remember the last name, but the first name was Zilfakir, and I love that name. It just sounds so cool to me. And of course, I could shorten it to Zilf, which is really nice. And bite me, it just worked really well. And there are other names like that just kind of pop out at me. For what to use, and it just fits with the character. The name usually has something to do with the character in some way if it's not poached from the graveyard.
I used to make them up, but I finally decided a much better way to make names up that sounded realistic rather than just being, you know, bullshit names.
Yeah.
Was to go ahead and get the credits from a bunch of movies and scroll through there and find some random people and use their names. I used to, at the beginning of this, I was like, oh, I'll take this one name, the first name from here and the last name from over here. And I was like, oh, nobody's going to know who this other person is. They're a grip. Nobody's going to know who that person is. We're just going to run with that name.
I know that Stephen King mentioned one of his characters did this, who would basically just like open up a telephone book. I don't know if Stephen King has ever done that, but there was a character of his that opened up the yellow pages to find names, or white pages, whatever it is.
That's pretty much what I'm doing. It's just, it was easy enough to find, you know, to go to IMDb and get the full cast listing and then copy and paste it into a document. Then I can just scroll up and down that. Right now, you know, everybody in like the last 6 books, basically they've worked somewhere in which ones here? Who was doing that? It was the John Wick movies.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you sit in the theater and you're like, the names just go on and on forever. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Look at every time I go to the movies, I'm like, I wish I had all these names. It's
especially bad when you have a particularly boring name yourself. You know, you're always looking at other people going, that's a great name. I should steal that.
Dean asked if am I going to write any more Empire of Bones? Kelsey's a complete badass. There are going to be more Empire of Bones books. The problem is that while I want to write, I intended to start writing one as soon as I finish the novel I'm currently working on. But the 2 novels that I wrote for Variant Publishing are making me as much money as the rest of what I've already published. So, it's kind of saying, the 3rd book in this would get you a lot more money and you need a brand new computer. And so I'm going to keep feeding the beast that's earning lots of money, but I'm going to do it in such a way that I'm going to later this year write another Empire of Bones book. It's just not going to be right away.
He's got to get the 3rd book in the series done first.
I'm going to immediately jump into the 4th book. As soon as I'm done with the 3rd one, I'll jump right into the 4th one, and it'll probably take me until book 5 or 6 before I've got enough time built up to take time off to write another book without breaking the release momentum.
So this series is also going to be a long running. I thought for some reason it was going to be shorter than that.
We did not know what it was going to be, and we still don't really know what the number is going to be, but it's performing well enough to where it's going to be more than 3 books. I think the last official number that he actually tossed out during a recording was 6 to 8 books, but if book 3 does well, it's going to be longer than that. So the plot definitely will support it being a longer series. So there's a lot of room to write in the Last Hunter series.
The real main character is Jared.
That's what he Kelsey says. That's what he claims.
Chuck, why are you playing Dyson Sphere program while listening to us? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Oh, J.R. Handley, we know you always volunteer to die in a book. You're trying to see how many times we can kill you.
I don't know, Dean. I may have already used your name. I may have to do a search. One never knows. I've used various people's names before.
Yeah. Oh, earnings via Kindle Unlimited.
What was the question?
The 2 books that you've written thus far that are making all the money, they're doing it via Kindle Unlimited?
Not all of it, no. Regular sales, audio. The first part of it, I don't know what the percentages are because I haven't actually gotten the first months. Well, I did get the first months, but it doesn't really, I haven't paid attention to what the breakdown is. All I care about is the bottom line.
Ah, okay.
So I didn't look that closely.
He says, what do you attribute this sales jump to?
Variant has a very large audience. And so much the same way as when I published the books that I co-authored with Glenn Stewart, he had a big audience and that was a big jump. So I'm getting the same sort of thing. He's got a very voracious audience with Variant, and the book 2, I think it peaked at somewhere around 186 on the Amazon list. So it went way up there and it's still not fallen back down that far. I think it's still somewhere under 1,000 in the ranking. So nice. It's kicking some serious ass. Yeah, and I'd be an idiot as a full-time writer to say, oh no, I've got to go ahead and write this other series when this one is like bringing in truckloads of cash to dump in my driveway.
Yeah, you'd be Paul, who left the Black series and went on this stupid thing called Derelict.
Don't be Paul.
Don't be Paul. Variant is the publishing company?
That's Cheney's publishing company, yes.
Okay.
I think it's Variant Publications, I think is what his full name is.
Okay. And obviously he's a writer as well.
He is. But he's got a lot of different things going on. He's got a lot of toes in the water. And so, you never heard that before?
The more common one is irons in the fire.
Fingers in the pie, whatever.
Fingers in the pie.
Whatever your preferred metaphor is.
Cats in the litter box. A lot of things
going on. What was that? I didn't hear.
Cats in the litter box.
Usually they're only in there one at a time, but yeah, sure.
Matt asks, is that jump in audience spilling over to your other books?
Maybe a little bit. it was weird with the co-authoring with Glenn. I had a big spike in my own books. I've had a gentler spike this time around, but it may be because I've got a bigger audience to begin with, and there's some crossover between mine and Cheney's audience. So I don't know.
It's always a good question.
It's definitely true that when you have something like that jump your audience, you'll find a new plateau for your work.
Yeah.
It'll go higher and then it stays pretty much higher.
Yeah, pretty much. The theory is that every time you put out a new book, it brings attention to your other books. And if somebody likes your book, their chances are they're going to go see what else you've written. Even if it's not in that same series, they're going to take a look at what else you've written, and they may give us something else a try.
Go ahead.
I would imagine that's especially true with Kindle Unlimited.
It's definitely true with Kindle Unlimited. And I have seen a lot of interest in the Empire books since the Last Hunter series started coming out. So I'm definitely getting bleed over from it. I just don't know how much.
Yeah. That's one of the...
I'd have to spend enough to buy a damn car on a freaking computer.
You cannot buy a car for that much money. Not a good one.
Yeah, not a good one these days. You know, I'm back in the 80s. Everything is back in the 80s. What can I say?
You're fucking old. That's what you could say.
Back in 2000, I spent $12,000 to buy, was it 6,000 each? I don't remember. We spent a decent amount of money to buy a car with 60,000 miles on it, about 2 of them when I had the money. So that's my only real experience buying cars.
Oh boy. Yeah, trust me, they cost a lot more now.
I'm sure they do. That's why my pickup truck, I picked it up 20 years ago and I'm still driving it around.
You guys ought to see his pickup truck. It really is something to behold. I'm surprised it's not like half Mondo at this point, especially considering the salt air you live in.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to see the roof. It's gotten pretty bad.
Jesus Christ. Oh God. Yeah. It just never ends. All right, what else do you people have? We've been here for an hour and 52 minutes. What else you got? Uh-oh, Bear's back.
This is not Bear.
Was that Misty?
It's Romeo.
Romeo. Jesus Christ. There's so many goddamn cats, I can't keep track of them.
He's trying to tell me that he's still hungry.
Of course he is. And your response is tough shit.
It is now.
It is now, he says. So you said these books are an Audible as well. Who's doing them? Do you know?
It's being done by Variant.
Oh, Variant's doing it themselves. Okay.
It's being recorded by Jeffrey Kaffer. Kaffer?
Okay.
I'm not really sure.
Kaffer. Pretty sure it's Kaffer.
You're probably right.
I've heard that name before.
But it's being sold in they've got their own audio store and they're selling it through there, and it's using the whole book funnel thing.
Ah, okay.
It's also being sold on Audible, but only at the lower percentage.
Okay, so
it's not exclusive. It's not exclusive.
Right. Okay. All right.
They even recorded the prequel short story, and it's out there for free right now.
Huh. Well, okay. That's usually a good thing. I'm really here for the cats. How do you convince them that the keyboard is not a good place to lay down?
You go ahead and you have a decoy keyboard where you go ahead and put one out so they'll lay on that one, but it's not really connected to anything. And then you type on the other one secretly while they're laying there thinking they've won.
That doesn't work with mine because then he goes, "You're typing. I need to be typing too."
KU is exclusive for the electronic version. So if you've got the text version, not the Audible, not the audio version, but the text version, KU is exclusive for that.
Right. And for Audible to get the higher percentage, you have to go exclusive for those jackholes. Because they suck.
Now, what did you just say?
I said, if you want to get the higher percentage with Audible, you have to go exclusive with those jackholes.
Yeah, it's true. Not that you're getting a whole lot more by doing that. It's a difference between 25% and 40%.
That's actually a pretty big difference if you start looking at the numbers in bulk. That is a big difference. A big difference. Also, fuck Audible. Fuck Amazon. Fuck them all.
Go to paul.com and buy his books right now.
Burn down in fucking flames. I'm so sick of this shit. Anyway, monopolistic fuckers. It just kind of depends on what you want to do, and it's another thing that you got to look at. I just had somebody ask me on Mastodon, I really want to read Station 3, but it's only available on Amazon. Is there someplace else I can buy it? The answer is no, because Severed Press is exclusive with Audible, or Amazon rather.
KU makes, if I had to make a guess, about 65% of my revenue for the book itself is KU. So
and I make almost 0% off KU. Even though all the Black books are exclusive, all the Derelict books are exclusive. JR, I'm technically, the Black is free from Severed Press. I wrote Station 3 for them, so they're going to have that for several years, but that's okay. So that's the only title. Derelict and Station 3 are the only titles I have with Severed Press right now. The Black is technically back in my hands and will start being re-released on July 1st of this year. At least that's the plan. So that's where we're going. Oh. So when starting out, what's the best way to get your name out there, i.e. before money is an issue?
Podcasting. Podcast your novel. You'll have instantly thousands and thousands of people going out and buying your books. Isn't that the way it works, Terry?
What you just heard was a lie. Or maybe I should do the voice and going, but unfortunately, Paul was incorrect.
But unfortunately, Paul was delusional. Yeah.
Sadly, stop knocking things over, Screamer. Sadly, the only way to get your name out there when nobody knows who you are is to write and publish the next book. I mean, you can try doing something that there's almost no real good free way to do it other than trying to attract what readers you can and moving on. And it sounds very harsh, but it does build up. One of the pieces of advice I do have for you, though, is get a link to your newsletter at the front and the back of your book, because your newsletter is your gold. That's what you want to have. You want to have
your website and your social media contacts and all that other shit.
You can have those in there, but the newsletter is what's going to actually get you more readers. And the reason I say that is that when you attract somebody that likes your work well enough to sign up to your newsletter, they're going to come back and buy the next book. Whereas social media, you're basically yelling off a cliff and wondering who's going to hear you.
Pretty much. Although I've gotten a little, I have studied some hashtags on Twitter, and it turns out there's quite a few for new releases and things like that. For me, there's the HWA. There's also the SFWA, which if you ping them and tell them you got a new book out, they'll retweet it or pimp it. I've got several authors I know who are with other horror presses, and they will also help talk about my stuff. But when you're starting out, the only way I got known at all was from the podcast. That's it. And that was back in the heady days where fiction podcast was going insane.
Paying for newsletter builders is a waste of money. What exactly is a newsletter builder, and how much do you pay for it? I can't say that I've ever tried one like that. I've been part of where I've committed a book to being at a lower price and been part of a newsletter that was being shared out around, but I can't say that I ever paid for the privilege.
I don't know what paying for a newsletter builder is. I don't know what that means. Is that paying somebody else to do your newsletter, or are you talking about the software?
Paying somebody to include your book in their newsletter, maybe? Sounds like what he means, but until he says, we don't know for sure.
I don't know. He needs to be more specific.
The contests, that's not helpful. They used to do them where you get, where'd it go? They used to do them where you get a subscriber pushes for a low fee paired with a free book to give them away. So it's basically what I was saying there. You pay somebody to share news about your stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I don't do that garbage either. Is that like some kind of aggregator service that dumps stuff on people?
It sure sounds like it.
I sure did sound like it. There are always new ways to do things. I think on Twitter and Mastodon, mastering hashtags is the deal. I'm not even going to talk about Facebook, because fuck Facebook. Obviously, buying some ads and things like that will maybe help. But if you're just starting out,
it's not ad buying is not as simple as one would think.
No, it is not. It is
there. Mark Dawson actually has a course called Ads for Authors that he puts out twice a year that goes into a lot of detail about how to do that for Facebook, for Amazon, for TikTok, and for all of those other things, all of those other platforms. I actually have it. I kept starting through it and going through it and intending to use it, and then still just don't. And
That's
so that probably annoys the living hell out of some people. They say, so how much advertising money do you spend to be making as much as you do as an author? Nothing. How do you advertise? Social media? No. Damn it.
Stare.
I should go, what's social media?
Oh my God. Spending money is not high on my list for getting into the business. It's not high on anybody's list for getting into the business.
Yeah, and I'm not advertising. I'm not saying anybody should actually go out and buy Mark Dawson's course, although it's very highly rated and reputable. But it's complicated. I'm just saying that there are people making money off of training others in the best way to use it. That's how complicated advertising is.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing with marketing. It's not going to be as easy as you think it is. It's a nightmare.
I think the best thing you can do to advertise your books is to have a good cover that's on target for your audience, to write a good blurb that's actually sales copy and doesn't make the mistakes that a lot of authors do of just talking about their plot and their
and the first 2 pages better be gripping. Better make somebody want to keep reading.
You got to hook them.
If you don't hook them in that first chapter or in the first 1,000 words, you're going to have a problem. So I think that's probably a better. Oh, how many of you go and read the Kindle samples before you buy it?
It's interesting that you say that, because my Kindle device keeps doing the advertisements for various books, and it knows the kind of things that I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I went ahead and said, okay, all right, I'm going to do that for like 3 books that it recommended me. I went out, that sounded good, and I got the samples. None of those 3 did I make it to the 10% satisfied enough to actually buy the book.
Right.
2 of them I stopped before I hit the 10% mark, and the other one was like, I just don't think so.
It's definitely a different experience when you let the advertisers or the company advertise, push the shit on you. And it's the same way. If you like this, you might like this. No, I know what that is, and I have no interest in it.
They keep recommending me my own books, and I go,
yeah,
those are excellent.
I'm so tired of Amazon sending me ads for my own books. An author you follow just released this, or hey, have you, you did this? Are you interested in buying it? I wrote it, you fuck. At the moment, I'm writing just for me. Haven't started putting things out there yet. Every other second job I've had has always grown through word of mouth. What are the pitfalls to avoid? Ooh.
A lot of writing pitfalls in that. When you're writing to be through word of mouth, you've got to make sure that you write a story that's going to satisfy the reader, because they're not going to recommend something they didn't particularly care for.
Yeah, and that's going to be another trick you kind of have to learn is what works, and what works is not always readily apparent.
When
And
I
what works for
started
somebody
writing,
else won't work for you.
I wrote 4 or 5 novels that I published anonymously on a website, chapter by chapter, that had a lot of stories in it, and got feedback on that without even affiliating it with myself.
Right.
It was helpful. I didn't really, I burned out most of that million words that you have to work your way through writing stuff, at least half of it, before I actually started publishing under my own name.
I wrote many, many books before I ever started publishing. I mean, I tried to publish, but this was back long before indie publishing. I have probably 4 trunk novels that I wrote during my 20s, late teens, early 20s that will never see the light of day. In retrospect, they're stupid and no one will ever see them again.
Politics and other divisive issues, when you bring them into your work, you're going to get some angry responses. No matter what they are. It's just the way it is. I had a secondary character, not even a point of view character, just somebody that was semi close to a secondary character that was gay. And I got the promoting the gay agenda for having a character in the book like that.
As we all do.
But I didn't let it stop me. I went ahead, and later on in the series, I've got a point of view character that's gay. And, the sex isn't part of it. It's not really something that comes up in the story, but it's still going to generate a response.
And my response is, fuck you. Why do I have a drunk Glaswegian in my book? Well, I have a drunk Glaswegian friend, so I know there are drunk Glaswegians out there, so now I have a drunk Glaswegian. I have a niece who used to be my nephew. I know trans people. I have that experience. I have gay friends. Guess what? I know black people. Hard to believe, I know. But guess what? All those people are going to be in my books because they are people that I interact with, and that's people in my world.
I understand that. And one of the things that I haven't had anybody that's trans in one of my stories.
I haven't either.
And I really haven't had anybody that is black as a point of view character. I think I may have at some point, but I'm not really qualified to write somebody else's personal experience. So I don't try to write with an agenda to tell somebody else's personal experience that's different than my own, because I don't want to appropriate somebody else's existence. I don't want to write something solely to appeal to a trans audience because I'm not trans. That it feels like I would be sticking my face into something, trying to appropriate something that isn't mine if I did that. I write something from a point of view of somebody very much like myself, simply because it's me, it's who I am, it's my life. The characters interface with people that are different than them, but I don't try to really write from the point of view of somebody that's different than myself, because it feels a little odd, a little wrong.
Bullshit, Kelsey.
Well, I do write female characters, yes.
You do not have a vagina, so don't tell me for a second
this is true
that you're not relating somebody else's experience.
That's really the only extent that I go to in writing is female and male characters. I don't really go into different nationalities. I don't really go into different gender groupings, because what I don't know would be very problematic for me at that point. You can step on some toes doing that.
And even what I do know, if the story doesn't call for it, why have it? That's really the question. Why have it?
There's no sex in my stories at all anyway. So having
a man who used to write erotica for a living.
Well, it's true, but the science fiction that I write doesn't have any sex in it. So I'm not trying to titillate. So there's no reason that a gay character would behave much differently than a straight character.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a different love interest, but that's not really going to be something that's taking place on screen. So I don't stray too far off the map.
Yeah, I don't think you have to. Matt asks, do the angry responses help at all? They know advertising is bad advertising approach, or does it actually hurt? This is funny.
Things, isn't it?
let me tell you what happened with Derelict. Or maybe it wasn't Derelict. I can't remember. Oh, it was somebody who read Gears Inferno and then read Derelict. And they put out a tweet to all of their friends saying Cooley writes horror, sci-fi, has gay, and actually has gay characters. And all these people went, oh my God, a straight writer who writes gay characters and sci-fi and horror? I got to give me some of this. I was like, what the fuck? Why is this even an issue? But for some people, it's more of a, this might be something I could read because I can relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think there is that part of it. And that is something to remind it. I mean, why do people read military sci-fi that come out of the military? Why do they read spy novels? Why do they read action adventure? Gee, I wonder. It's just it just depends on what you're doing. You're always going to please somebody and piss somebody off. It's kind of the way it works.
The angry responses, I think, don't help anyone. And I think that most people that see them as reviews on books or whatever, just ignore them. Honestly,
or they say, I have to buy this book because it pissed off somebody.
Do most people actually read the reviews on ebooks? I know that when I look at an ebook, I'll look at the star rating and I'll look at the pattern of stars and kind of get an idea. Is this a good book? Is this a bad book? I won't read the reviews because I don't care. I've discovered that reviewers don't know shit. When they try to describe something, it's invariably not really the case. My taste is different than everyone else's, and I have to look for me. So I just look to say, is it a decent book? If the plot sounds interesting, I'm going to go ahead and give it a try.
It's like the reader who said about Derelict, why is it all military sci-fi has to have so many F-bombs?
Because they were written by Jake Bible?
Because they were written by people or for people who were in the military and they all curse like motherfuckers. Have you ever known anybody from the military?
When I was in the military, the F-bomb was every third word. It's literally true.
Adjective, adverb, gerund.
Anything that could be imagined, it was said, and they are the most foul-mouthed people you could possibly imagine. When I talked to my mom weekly on the phone, I had to really watch what I was saying.
That reminds me of that scene in Hamburger Hill, you know, when they were talking about him going home. He's like, you got to remember, you can't sit there and say, pass the fucking potatoes. You can't say that when you go home.
I had a pair of jeans that one of the back pockets was partially torn. It was actually partly torn off. And I'm talking to my mom on the payphone in the barracks, and somebody walks behind me and rips my back pocket off my jeans, and I whip around and go, "You motherfucker!" Thankfully, my mom didn't hear it.
My parents would just be like, "Oh, it must be Tuesday." Let's see. I got that about my first book that had a lesbian AI, which started as a joke. I too was shocked that it was a thing, Paul. A lesbian AI?
I'm like, okay.
I don't even comprehend that. A lesbian AI.
I think the concept of a gendered AI is amusing.
I have them in Derelict.
Well, I mean, you know, that there's a sexuality implied in having an orientation. You can have, you know, it's a male AI, it's a female AI, but when you say it's bisexual, that implies it's having sex with something.
I've never had a bisexual AI. Although, you know, there's no reason why Black couldn't jump into an android and have a good time with somebody.
Boom, chicka, wow, wow.
Boom, chicka, wow, wow. Or Dr. G, for that matter. Well, that's terrifying. Can you download into a donor body?
Stargate Universe. Here's where JR goes, oh, he's talking about Stargate Universe. In Stargate Universe, they're so far away they can't go home. But they found some technological devices that let them switch their personalities with somebody back on Earth. And while one person was back there, they went and had sex with their wife. And I'm sitting there going, you realize that's somebody else's body, right? You realize you're busy using somebody else's body to get busy.
That's just creepy. All right, I got to take this real quick.
Okay, well, Paul's talking here. I'll go ahead and see here. Gender, personality, da, 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 da. There are probably adapters available for that, Terry. Yeah, there probably are. Oh, man. JR is a big fan of Stargate Universe. I didn't like it because it was dark and the characters were unlikable, but it was okay. I hope they do some more stuff, though. Paul's still going to be busy, so we'll just go ahead and keep going down the list here. So with an AI and a sexualized personality, who would they be having sex with? Matt says, the last AI that he wrote did everything it came into contact with, and he has sales predictions to prove it. Bum-ba-da! Chuck says that he liked the original Stargate. I did too. I even thought the movie was okay. I kind of liked, in a way, I kind of liked Atlantis better because I thought the characters were more amusing. Yeah, they're not going to finish the SGU plot line, JR. I had to get the comic so I could figure out where they were actually going to go ahead and take it to. Which I think I've even got it stuck up there. Yeah. It's the only way that I could figure out where they actually intended that story to go. Comics didn't finish the plot, but it was better than nothing. You're still muted, man.
Okay, I'm back. I was talking to myself. I had to pick something up. Okay, so I missed a whole bunch of shit.
We were talking about Stargate Universe and AIs and body swapping. You didn't miss much.
Okay. I like this, though. Last AI I wrote fucked up everything I came in contact with. I have sales predictions to prove it.
You inserted the word up in there, which changed the meaning entirely. It didn't fuck up everything. It fucked everything.
Oh, God. I can't believe you guys are arguing about Stargate now. This universe is just not fit for me. Period. End of story.
The Stargate, it's only one volume. It's the only one that's out there. So it picks up where the series left off, and it does wrap up the major plot lines that kind of were left hanging. So it was worth it if you wanted to know where they were really going to go with that particular cliffhanger. So yeah.
Could you
they intended to go on to another cliffhanger, but at least if you read it, you can finish what you wanted to. You could be the Chuck Tingle of AI books.
Not me. It's possible. I think an AI writes Chuck Tingle. That's entirely possible. Some say probable. Well, folks, we've been out here for 2 hours and 18 minutes, and my voice is tired because I've already recorded like 5 hours today. So we're going to have to bring this train wreck to a halt.
It's always fun having the patrons on and talking to them.
It is indeed. But if you have a question about this show, you can find us. You can send an email to show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can find me on Mastodon at Paul E. Cooley at mastodon.social. What are you doing?
He's talking, but it just goes wrong. So there.
You can find us on Facebook at the Listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group. And be sure to tell Terry to go fuck himself. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast. If you want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to exclusive content.
Like this very podcast.
This very thing. Come in here, ask us questions and things like that. And at the $10 level, you get your name read. And our $10 patrons are.
But Paul has to actually have that screen up.
Look, I've done really well the last few weeks. I'm fucking up now. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. We don't usually do this for the live shows. I just decided to do it. So there we go. Come on. And our $10 patrons are Summer Wilson, Tony L. Joy, Andrew Smallwood, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. And with that, we have one more thing to do, which is to admit that Terry and I are caffeine junkies, and we get supplied by Corpse Coffee. It is our heroin. Go up to corpsecoffee.com, check out their array of coffees. Stop fucking with my outro. You go up to corpsecoffee.com, check out their array of coffees, their collection of boutique teas, and their fabulous webcomic, and tell them the DRS folks sent you. Go to corpsecoffee.com and get the dead in your cup. Bite me. I have so much shit to do right now. It's on my list. I'll get to it when I get to it.
See, the sad thing, folks, is Paul gets all of the money to get, because he does most of the work on this. So he would get more money if he had the time to actually do this.
You have no idea how much of a nightmare Shadow Publications is. I have a Patreon, a Ko-Fi, and a Buy Me a Coffee. Okay. Just to do one post, I have to copy shit everywhere. On Patreon allows me to upload the files there. I can't do that with Ko-Fi or Buy Me a Coffee. So I have to host them on my Libsyn account with my other stuff so that everything shows up. It is a nightmare, a goddamn nightmare. There's no way to do it easily to get them all at the same time. It's awful. So yeah, anyway. Ugh. So yeah, it's on the list. Trust me. I want your money. Give me your fucking
Don't worry,
money.
he'll get it done by 2027.
Yeah, probably. Well, Terry, you have any last words?
Goodbye.
Sounds like a good one. All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us today. It was good questions, and hopefully we didn't bore you with too much geek out. Hush, Chuck. I'd rather write it in Python. And with that, we are going to get out of here. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we will talk real soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, yeah, that means I actually have to end the broadcast.
Yeah,
Shit.
you got